Okie dokie, sorry about that. That was like almost an hour wait, sorry. And it looks like I actually have someone in my stream today. That usually doesn't happen during these. Let me just get that. Yeah, let's save that. Okay, so yes, today is, what is it, the August 7th, 2016, episode, quote-unquote, episode 8 of the soloQue podcast. It's literally something where I just get on here by myself because I want to talk about stuff and I don't really want to rely on people. It's pretty much like, hell, you could probably call this almost like a vlog just without the video. But yeah, welcome to the soloQue podcast, where I try to see if I can carry myself through this on my own. Today I'm doing a little bit different. Anyone who actually watches this, probably no one. I usually start off with video games and then I get into like other stuff. Yeah. Today I'm actually doing the exact opposite, where I'm doing the other stuff and then doing something very specific. It's looking at the cards for Hearthstone. Let's see. So first things first. Wait a second. First things first, I need to put on my, whatever you call it, the actual overlay thing. That way I can bring up a spoiler tag, because I'm going to be talking about at least one manga, My Hero Academia, for anyone who reads that. So let's see, this last Thursday it released its 102nd, how do I put it, not as eventful as some other ones. It's literally, let me think of how to put it. I know it's talking about super moves to a small extent, and then it went on about one of the main female characters, Ochako, and her crush, but that's pretty much the majority of what happened. And then they said, hey, going to take the exam. Yeah, so they're already at the exam. And then they meet an individual who I guess was potentially accepted for the school they're at, UA, but decided to decline and went to a different school instead, I guess. And very funny, I guess. I just said I guess twice. But not much really happened that episode, that chapter. As of right now, I am also currently starting to find better ways to make videos for YouTube. I'm literally just bringing anything that comes to mind. I just put on a what do you call it, a piece of paper, and literally I've got like 53 ideas, and the majority of them are all crap. But that's how brainstorming works. You find the good stuff and then you filter out the garbage. And let's see. Excuse me. Next is, yeah, literally Friday my internet went out. I only bring that up because of how frustrating it is to deal with internet over the weekend, because it literally went out and you do everything in your power, and then you have to call the after hours people, and you know you're not going to have internet for the rest of the night, and it really, really sucks. It really just does suck. The thing that irritated me the most is when I woke up and I waited, let's see. I know I woke up, waited until, I think noon, almost noon, and I called again and they said, well, you know, over the weekend they only have emergency staff, to which I'll say, if your emergency staff does not contain IT people that can go out and check internet regardless of where it is on campus, then, well, you're messed. That's messed up. Like, that is unacceptable. Like, anytime, anywhere, all internet should be accountable for, regardless of the situation. Get somebody. So at one point, it literally did just fix itself. I guess that's the best way to put it. I don't know. It was not working at all for like 18 hours, and then suddenly one day, boom, worked. So I didn't have to spend the entire weekend without it, because that would have also, well, that if I were to do that, I would have had to do this thing edited differently, like just recorded straight up without streaming. But that's pretty much all of that stuff, just kind of pointless jibber jabber, and putting off the spoiler because, yes, my life, it has spoilers, obviously. But no, I'm going to talk about just Hearthstone today. Yeah, just Hearthstone. Because they've got an expansion coming out soon. It's called One Night in Karazhan. Now, unfortunately, I am not someone who's been, like, through all of WoW. So I honestly can't tell, like, wait a second, turn off my fan. I can't say about every single thing that has gone on in the time, so all the, like, different raids and different dungeons and stuff. But apparently this is, like, far more thematic than the original, I guess, because it's literally like, how do we put it? The best way to describe it is says it's like, let's see, invited to a party by Medivh, and it's like 80s funk and that kind of shtick. It's just kind of funny. It's silly. It's fun. August 11th. Ooh, that's not too long from now. So that should be coming out. Oh, this Thursday. Dang. Also, My Hero Academia Chapter 103 will come out this Thursday. Just saying. Well, just go over some of the standard things. So it has 5 wings, 13 bosses. Let's see. Yeah, the usual fare, just defeat a boss. You either get you'll get 2 copies automatically of 1 or more of the new cards. Usually it's like maximum 2. I think there's like a prologue where you don't pay anything for the first one. Also, I will be streaming the the One Night in Karazhan stuff as well. 9 class challenges, like normal, like every other one. They've had all 9 class challenges. Award 2 copies of a new class card, and yeah, okay. Normal, heroic, just that basic stuff. I want to go over the cards, though. So 45 collectible cards, 18 neutral, 27 class cards, 3 for each class, which is far different from when they started. They were literally just doing 1 per class. Okay. So I'm just going to go down a list they have on the website. So, first one, 1 mana, 2/1, the Arcane Anomaly. Whenever you cast a spell, give this minion +1 health. I think generally speaking, this is I think it's a decent effect that I don't think it'll work in, like, say, every singular kind of deck, because anything else that doesn't really run too many spells wouldn't really care to benefit from that. Then again, let's see. Because, let's see, spell-heavy decks like Tempo Mage or anything like that, where they do just have, like, probably comprise, like, at least a third or half their deck might be spells. Odds are most of it's going to be removal, so it might not be... I don't know. I'm just trying to think of how good it would be compared to, say, like a Mana Worm. It might not be as good as that because it doesn't gain attack. I mean, you never know. That's one. I think it's good in like some decks, but overall, just kind of Another one is the 1 mana 0/2 Runic Egg, Death Rattle, draw a card. This one, yeah, just I don't think it's that good at all because the card is nice, but Loot Hoarder is a lot better, and the other eggs were kind of better in a different sense. Like technically the Dragon Egg is better because it gives you a body, even if it's only 2/1, but that's not even played, so it's kind of meh. And then you also have the Nerubian Egg, which was stupidly broken because it gives you a 4/4 when it dies. So it's literally like, hey, surprise. I don't know. I was going with somewhere with that. Even in Arena, this is kind of like a bad. Doesn't really. As I said, it's just like it. You have to give it attack in order for it to do anything, and no one's going to attack it otherwise. So anything without attack is just weak. Okay, after that is the Netherspite Historian, Battlecry. If you're holding a dragon, discover a dragon. It's a 1/3. I think that's a nice effect. Definitely works in dragon decks. Which one specifically, I'm not sure, but I don't think it's like a super powerful, but it's not bad. Like it's a 1/3. It doesn't really do much on the board. Then again, dragon decks are more control based in the first place. I think it's a nice effect because it gives you more dragons. I don't know what else to say about that. In Arena, it's probably bad because you need to be holding a dragon to get a dragon, and it's a 1/3 otherwise, and it's just meh. And the next one is 2 mana 3/2 with Taunt, the Pompous Thespian. Early taunts are never good. But they just do not absorb more than one hit, and that's the reason why most of them, people talk about power creep. This is not power creep for one big reason. The card before this, Frostwolf Grunt, was never played, was never good in anything. It wasn't even good in Arena, it's good in nothing. It's not power creep because it's not creeping up the power level that's already at the top of the power level. Something like this kind of existed with the Druid's Robocub. It's just not good enough because, like, Sun and Shield Master is usually baseline better than most others. Like, 4 to 5 health is usually a good starting point for taunts because most things around 1, 2, 3, and maybe even 4 a lot of the time can't kill it in one shot. So they usually tank 2 hits, which is what makes taunt effective. A 3/2, not effective. Honestly, even a 2/3 might not be as effective. Again, Robocub was a 2/3, only takes a hit most of the time. It's not that hard to deal 2 to 3 damage. The next card, I haven't been saying the rarities, but these are all common. 3 mana, 1/3, Beast, Pantry Spider. Battlecry summon a 1/3 spider, and I believe that's called a Cellar Spider. Same thing, no text there. I think that's an interesting kind of card. Itself is not that strong. It's technically 2/6 worth of stats, but they're both like 1. It fills a board, and it doesn't require any other activator, so it won't die immediately, but honestly, a 3 mana 2/3 is also pretty bad. I mean, in Arena, I could see something, but like this kind of card also just never really good for even fun decks, right? Aggressive decks, again, just not really that good at anything. I think it's interesting that they would include something like that. They are being more liberal with the stats, even though, again, the stats are very weak. Next card after that, the Violet Illusionist, 3 mana, 4/3, During your turn, your hero is immune. I think that's an interesting effect. I don't know if it's like a super broken effect at all. Odds are it's not, and it really only seems to fit in, say, controlling kind of games, where if you're using, say, weapons or whatnot, or doing something that would end up killing you on your turn, it's something that has application, but it's not something I feel would be, like, overly good, at least on the surface. It might be something that people play with. I can't really say if it's good or bad, so to speak. It's an interesting effect, though. It's not going to block anything on their turn, so there's that. Overall, it's a neutral, so it makes it accessible to a lot of classes. I think this one would be good. Not good, but a decent idea in Rogue, because they have to tank damage and they don't have reliable damage mitigation. Okay, next one is 3 mana 3/3 Zubot. It's a battle cry. Give random friendly beast, dragon, and murloc a +1/+1. It's also a mech. Now the interesting thing about this is, one, tribal cards are very, like, it's very weird how they work, because some of them are just good, some of them are just bad, but like mechs, they're not going to make any other mechs that synergize with mechs. Why? Probably for the same reason why they didn't make too many like beasts or dragons or anything synergized, like by, say, make this thing stronger, or make this make all of your mechs cheaper. Because every mech deck was literally the same thing, and if your deck did not have a really good mech specific card, class specific mech card, that deck just wouldn't be a aggro deck, right? There's no flexibility. It was all just aggressive mech decks. That's it. But this one is interesting because not only is it baseline decent stats, 3/3, it also has the ability to give a lot of the other ones, Beast, Dragon, and Murloc. I don't know if a deck like that will ever pop up in Constructed, even as a fun deck, because I don't know where you could work all the synergies together. But this thing could also work really well in Arena, because it has, those baseline stats, and odds are you're going to get a Beast, possibly a Dragon, and who knows, maybe you're going to end up having to pick a Murloc. And honestly, you can play this down with all of those on the board and buff them all. Since it's a random, but it's a random like, it has and Beast, Dragon, and Murloc. And I think this is a theme that goes for a couple other cards with the other tribal tags. So I think it's good in a sense. It's fun. Constructed, it's one of those it's never going to be played in Constructed, because there's no point for it otherwise. Next one, getting to a 4 mana 3/2 Arcanosmith. This is a battle cry. Summon a 0/5 minion with taunt. Sounds good, not so much though. Anything with taunt that has 5 health does sound good, because it takes a while to really pound through 5 health. Usually 2 minions at the least, unless you have a really strong minion. However, it's also a 0 attack. Usually, you want something with like 2 to 3 attack, because you want to be able to weaken their minions down. Aggressive minions get eaten up by Ascension Shieldmaster. This, on the other hand, doesn't eat up anything. The 3 damage is stuck on the Arcanosmith's body. So, I don't even know if that's like good in Arena at all, because you really do want the taunt and on the attack as well. I mean, it might be a chump blocker, but it's like, Shield Bearer. Shield Bearer isn't played because it doesn't deal any damage, and that's just the truth. And next one, 5 mana, the Meangry. Wait. Oh wow, I can't even say that. Meangry? Oh my goodness, wait a second. I had the word earlier.
Menagerie.
Menagerie, what the fuck? What the heck? Okay, the Menagerie Magician. 5 mana, 4/4. That's actually becoming a common stat line for 5 mana cards. Battlecry, give a random friendly beast, dragon, and murloc +2/+2. Again, going off of the similar thing for the Zubot, it's not a mech this time, but actually, if anything, I didn't say that for the Zubot, but it can gotten off the Gorilla Bot. But then again, you have to have a mech, so that might not be as worth it. Never mind. Anyways, for the Magician, yes, if you get this off of just one thing, it'll get +2/+2. And I don't see it being played in like a solid beast deck, nor any kind of like dragon or even a murloc type deck. But in Arena, again, you can have multiple of those cards just because your draft is going to be pretty random. But it's a +2/+2, so that's also very effective. So I think it's good for Arena, always bad going in Constructed. Next one is first rare, the Avian Watcher. 5 mana, 3/6. Battlecry. If you control a secret, gain +1/+1 and taunt. So, Constructed, never gonna see any play because it's like a Fen Creeper. Except for it's a worse Fen Creeper because it doesn't automatically have the taunt, and sometimes you really don't end up playing secrets probably before turn 5 in some cases, because not every there's not an easy way to like cheat out secrets or get out secrets without having to dig through your deck or play them. So most of the time, this is literally just going to be a 3/6, and the +1/+1 to make it a 4/7 is only really good if it's, say, on turn 5. Anything beyond that, it's like meh. Arena 3/6 is good enough. Again, 6 health. That makes it real, healthy enough to survive, and 3 damage is always like a good baseline to have on anything. Next one, 6 mana, Bookworm. 3/6 dragon. Battlecry, if you're holding a dragon, destroy an enemy minion with 3 or less attack. Possible upside, Draconid Crusher is going to be leaving at one point, so you got another 6-drop. On the other hand, a lot of the 3 damage or attack minions you want to kill are usually going to be smaller, like lower mana cost. So by the time this comes out, it might not even have a target, or you might not have a dragon. It's not a bad effect, especially since you can target the effect and not rely on randomness. I think it's something to kind of be played with, but it might not even be that great. And in Arena, it's going to be terrible because by this point, 3/6 for 6 is just terrible. You don't rely on Dragon Synergy in Arena. And the next card, Moat Lurker. 6 mana, 3/3. Battlecry, destroy a minion. Death Rattle, resummon it. Okay. Straight up, Constructed can't use this, right? Because you don't want them to ever have a minion back on the side of their board. Like, period. It doesn't do anything for you. So, it's just never going to see that place. And it's also pretty expensive for that. Same thing with the Bookworm, expensive. Like, the problem with, like, other cards like Ren Blackhand was literally expensive, expensive, expensive. People want to play cheap removal and then play other minions. But, in Arena, maybe? I mean, for me, it's kind of hard to tell if there's actually an upside to this because you'd have to keep this thing alive. But maybe by the time you kill something really good or whatnot, and then by the time it gets resummoned, maybe you can deal with it. Who knows? I don't see too much in it. I don't know if it's going to be like really that good. Only time will tell. I don't really see it being that good myself. And Okay, not the last one, but the last of the kind of standard cards. The Arcane Giant, 12 mana, 8/8. So I like the Giants because they're a very interesting kind of set of cards where it's like, depending upon certain conditions, this card's cost is reduced. Although the first couple of early Giants were... Their problem was they could be summoned out on turn like 3 or 4, which... It makes them too strong in certain decks and very useless in other decks. And it makes sense for them to be, like, say, partially useless. But, yeah. Like the, what is it? Mountain Giant, it can get out on 3 mana. The Molten Giant beforehand, it could get out, like, 0 mana really easy. But then they started making some more interesting ones. Now, the Clockwork was terrible because it relies on opponent hand size, which you cannot at all control, so that was bad. Frost Giant, every time you hero powered, so you could never get it out early, but you could get it down to 0 later in the game, which was also really awesome. This one, too, I think is only going to be useful in particular decks. Nothing aggro related, because even if aggro has like a good number of spells, those are mostly reflexively used. They're not just like used, since it does cost 1 less for every spell. The only way to like get this out for 0 is to play at least 12 or more spells and plan to just play them all. I don't know if it would be good in, say, a tempo or something. I think it's something that people would play with. I don't know if it ever will get down to the full 0. But hey, that might be a fun idea. Let's see. What's next? Alright, so next we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I believe 5 legendaries. Okay, the first one, 3 mana, 1/1. Yeah. Stealth. At the end of your turn, summon a 1/1 Steward. I think his name is pronounced Morose. Yeah, a lot of people say this card is like absolutely shit, and I'm thinking it's kind of shit. Not absolutely shit, it's just that the meta it kind of came into was unfortunate. That there's a ton of ways to deal 1 damage easy, especially with Whispers of the Old Gods. You'll never see like the, I don't remember what that mage card's name is, that deals 1 damage to everything, or every enemy minion. But the Ravaging Ghoul exists. Knife. Fan of Knives. Man, I can't speak. Fan of Knives exists. Like, I understand the idea, and the idea is a neat idea, where you play this 1 minion, and over time it gets value. Kind of like you press the hero power on Paladin over and over again, but for no mana. But you'd have to, I think you'd have to get this thing first out for 3 minions to recoup its cost and then still get more out, which it's really easy to be dealt with. And even then, I'm not sure if it's really ever going to be in a place where it's not susceptible to even the weakest AoE. Literally, in Arena, it can be killed by Arcane Explosion. So I think it's an interesting concept, maybe not a really good concept. Or a good stat line, at least. Speaking of odd concepts, Barnes, 4 mana, 3/4, Battlecry, summon a 1/1 copy of a random minion in your deck. If I was speaking of Arena, no idea, because there's a possibility you might literally just pull out a 1/1 of something random, so it's literally a 4/5 worth of stats. Might not even be useful at all, so I don't know how good that would be. On the other hand, there is a possibility that people might play with this and see if they could put it in a deck where they pull out a lot of minions with good death rattles or just good, auto or consistent effects. I don't know. I mean, it's possible. People might try to use this in some form of combo deck that runs very few minions. It's possible. It's just you have to be very methodical about it. It's another one of those interesting concept cards. I don't know if it's going to see play in Constructed. It might. I don't know. Now you've got Prince I think it's Malkizar. 5 mana, 5/6. So perfectly straight, like vanilla stats. When the game starts, add 5 extra legendary minions to your deck. It's also a demon, so it's the second neutral demon, which is a, let's see, legendary. All the other demons are also, legendary, that they're not warlock demons. Now the thing about this card is people are talking about, ridiculousness and craziness of this card, and I am thinking this card has a lot of good in it in Arena, because for the most part, legendaries are not as common. So this can put 5 legendaries of any type in there. I believe it doesn't not do duplicates. So the only reason why I speak about Arena is because it's possible for certain effects to be positive, since there's no, end game, end goal of your deck. So you're not diluting it. Because the problem with Constructed is people say maybe this allows you to keep out or draw out a game into Fatigue. Well, most games nowadays are not really being drawn out into Fatigue as much as they were. And now you're just potentially drawing a legendary that does not go towards the end of your end game, which a lot of Constructed decks do, just go towards a specific end game. It feels more like if you're going to be playing it, it's to be able to mess around with legendaries you've never had. It seems more like a fun card. And do mind you, there are also some legendaries that just do not really do a whole lot. Like Shapeshifter, Xeris, which has, doesn't get played at all. Might get Morose, which might not help you at all. Like, there's just a lot of ways where this could potentially fail. But that's also where part of the fact that it's a 5/6, again, it's a 5/6 that doesn't do anything, so it won't be good in Constructed that well, because a 5/6 for vanilla 5s, vanilla 5/6 doesn't really do much, and 5 legendaries that kind of dilute your deck out isn't that good. Because the reason why 30 cards is so amazing is because usually you pull through half your deck, okay? And if in that half of your deck you are looking at at least 2 other legendaries that were put in there, odds are now you have 2 cards that you probably wanted more than those legendaries. Because people say, okay, maybe this is like 5 additional forms of removal that they need. That only really seems to be effective in Arena, where removal is much more scarce in some cases. But also 5/6 in Arena is solid. Okay, next is the Curator. 7 mana, 4/6. Miserable stats, but it also has Taunt. Battlecry, draw a Beast, Dragon, and Murloc from your deck. It's also a mech. So I think that again, another interesting effect with the draw other cards of that same sort of other tribal tags. I think some people compare this to something like Ancient of Lore pre-nerf, where it could pull out at least 1, 2, or at least like 2 cards at the most, or optimally, it most likely will pull 2 cards because you might not have a Beast, a Dragon, and a Murloc all in your deck in Arena. Most likely you might not play this at all unless you can somehow figure out how to make a Beast, Dragon, and Murloc, or just a Beast, Dragon deck in Constructed. But Arena, it'll be interesting enough, because 4/6, it's not too great in stats, but maybe you'd play it just for the draw, because the fact that you get to draw directly from your deck, and you get to draw specifically minions, might make it good. I don't know if it'd be like the best of the best, but it's not like terrible. And the last of the neutrals, let's see. 8 mana, 7/7, Medivh the Guardian. Battlecry, equip Etesh, Great Staff of the Guardian. So Yeah, just a vanilla body there, but it has a battle cry with an interesting effect. So, pretty sure I'm pronouncing that right. Atesh. After you cast a spell, summon a random minion of that cost. Lose 1 durability. So, 1/3 weapon. Might not ever use it to swing, but it's also sort of like, how do you call a... Shoot, I'm trying to think of the word. Like a summoning stone, except it's not on the board, so it has no way of being killed. The only way to kill it is literally with like an ooze or Harrison Jones, so that's a more interesting way to use it. You do have to wait until like turn 8 to get it out, but... So whether or not he's going to be played or not, good question. Maybe it might literally be in like some sort of... Oh, I don't know if it will be, but some sort of like grinding like deck where you play him and then you get a Tesh out and then you literally play other cards. Who knows? Interesting card. Don't know how well. In Arena, 8 mana 7/7. No idea. Because I think you don't want as many really, really large late game cards, like that large. Especially if it's just a 7/7. We might have to see about that later. Going into the class cards. So hopefully I can kind of get through these a little bit faster. First, Druid. The Enchanted Raven, 1 mana 2/2 beast, no card text. Sorry, I like the idea of them having a 1 mana beast. Might be possible to be either mid range or a kind of aggressive, but I think some people might be thinking that the idea of it having 2 health is like so much better. When I look at it, having 2 health isn't that much better than having 1 health, because a lot of 1 mana minions are just... It's pretty much the same. Like, it's not that difficult for turns 1, 2, and 3 to deal 2 damage to a minion, so literally, a lot of times, 1 health is 2 health, and 2 health is 1 health. The only difference is this can't die to a 1 damage hero power immediately. But then again, not every class really has the ability to deal 1 damage that effectively and consistently throughout the game. Let's see. I think it's possible for it to do something, but it might not be that usable. It might be better in Arena. Just when you think about stat-wise, the only way this would be like super strong is if this was literally just a 2/3 beast, 1 mana, nothing else. That would be the entire thing. Yeah, you can put it out with the Mark of Yasharj and have a 2 mana, or turn 2 4/4. That might be useful, might be doing something, but again, I don't really know. I just think it's kind of just pretty much a glorified 2/1. Got the 6 mana 5/5, which, since we have more of that, it's not so bad anymore. Like 5/5 stats for 6 aren't that bad, but this is the Menagerie Warden. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that half the time. It's Battlecry. Choose a friendly beast, summon a copy of it. I like the idea, because there's usually a number of beasts that if you're trying to run a literal beast synergy deck, how strong it's going to be, no idea, but if you do have something on the board, you're literally going to get 5/5 plus whatever else you just started playing. Heck, if it just hits a Stranglethorn Tiger, which is not a bad 5/5, it copies 1 5/5 and puts another 5/5 on the board with stealth. Just a thought. I mean, I don't know how well beast decks are going to do in Constructed, but in Arena, that's like powerful. Now they've got a spell, 6 mana. Moonglade Portal, restore 6 health, summon a random 6 cost minion. For the health component, I'm not sure how great that is specifically. 6 health is kind of, because healing itself has always been this kind of, you don't know really how good healing is, and it might be over costed, but this card does do two different effects. So it summons a random 6-cost minion. It summons it directly to field, so which could go in your favor. There's a lot of 6-cost minions that might be useful. I do see that might be played around with. No idea how well it would ever do in Constructed. I would hope people would at least start playing with it. Play around with it at least. Arena seems like it might be good because even mediocre healing kind of works, especially with a double effect, and puts a minion on the board. Next is Hunter, the 2-mana 1/1 Kindly Grandmother. Death Rattle summon a big bad wolf. Now, I'm trying to think if this is really good or just, kind of good, because you do sort of have that issue with it being just a 1/1, so it doesn't really have much tempo on the board. But it can attack, it can kill itself and become a 3/2. The stickiness might make it far more annoying. Let's see. I know that there's the big bad wolf. No card tax, it is still a beast, of course. Maybe this one might not be as abusive as, say, some other death rattles that have existed in the past, but it might not be. It might literally be kind of bad. The good news is it's not like ridiculous stats for 2-mana 1/1. The next one, Cloaked Huntress, 3-mana 3/4, so superb stats. So they seem to be more liberal with giving, on curve stats and giving good or decent effects or mediocre effects to some extent, which is good because usually they would be like, we're going to give this an effect anyways and we're going to make it like a 5-mana 5/5 or a 5-mana 5/4, because sometimes maybe that does break a card, but other times maybe it doesn't. Anyways, this one was Your Secrets cost 0, so that is I would say that's relatively almost broken effect, because Hunter itself is one of the classes that has probably the least situational secrets, where they're all pretty much good and control-oriented, depending upon when they actually came out. Odds are, though, this probably might not be a just put in a currently existing deck and then just go off with it. That might not be the case, literally, because in order to get the most value out of this, you want to probably be able to play a number of secrets all at once, and you probably want to have a number of secrets, so this might literally be a card you build a deck around instead. And speaking of secrets, the next one is another secret for Hunters. 2-mana Cat Trick. After your opponent casts a spell, summon a 4/2 Panther with Stealth. How good that might be depends. Might see play in that kind of secrets deck if it does start working around. I know I would like to at least see if I could work around with that myself. In Arena, not so much, because, well, spells aren't as common in Arena, and it literally might just be sitting there for half the time. Okay, next one is 2-mana 2/3 mage card, Medivh's Valet. Battlecry, if you control a secret, deal 3 damage. So the good thing about this card is that whole premium stat thing I was talking about, where it's a 2/3, which the main reason why people played a lot of 3/2s is because they had a really good effect. They had a 3/2 body so that they died quickly. But 2/3 is usually very good. Whether or not constructed, no idea. But the fact that at one point you can have a secret in play, most likely, especially in like Arena, most likely you'll get some form of secret. You can automatically deal 3 damage, and 3 damage is very useful at any point. It kills a lot of things. So yeah, on curve it's literally just going to be a 2/3, but off curve it'll be like 2/3, but then deal 3 damage, which is like a even better effect from what do you call it? Well, if you actually think about it, this could be exactly the what was it? Blackwing Corruptor, except for without the body on turn 5, because you could play a secret and do this. But it's an interesting idea. Okay, they also have the 7 mana Firelands Portal. Deal 5 damage, summon a random 5 cost minion. 5 cost minions are kind of, they're okay, not really always the best. But, well, if you think about Azure Drake's on there, so I wonder if this literally will buff it up to 6 damage if an Azure Drake pops out automatically. I don't know. But it deals 5 damage, meaning it's some form of removal. It can also go face. I mean, it's super big and it's common. So I'm pretty sure this is like a better form of, what do you call, fire elemental. So it's a good card. Don't know if it's going to see any play in like any constructed sort of deck, but it's at least good in Arena. I know that much. Then they have a 1 mana 1/1, the Babbling Book. Battle Cry, add a random mage spell to your hand. Now, a lot of people do talk about mage spells, how you have some really good ones, and then you have some really not so good ones. And I think, yeah, things like Tempo Mage probably don't want this, but a controlling sort of, or grinding kind of mage, I'm not going to say it's going to be like superb, but I would say that a lot of the reason why you don't play some spells in mages is because even the bad ones are actually not that bad. The only really bad ones are like Spellbender, because they have a very specific situation. And I do believe that even things like Cone of Cold and just anything you'd think, well, this is not that good of a card, it's not really that bad of a card, in my opinion. Especially with the fact that it's a 1/1 and you have a 1 damage hero power. I think that really does sell it a little bit more. It's probably more of a control-y, very slower card, but it's not like horrible. Because I do believe that Mage has like a lot of, except for some of the newer ones, a lot of very baseline, decent secrets that are good enough. But not good enough to be, you know, like they're cards that you will not mind having it randomly put in your hand. They're just not cards you put in your deck. Paladin, 3 mana, 2/3, Nightbane Templar, Battle Cry. If you're holding a dragon, summon 2 1/1 whelps. So kind of about that whole, what do you call it, premium stat thing. They threw that out of the window here, because I guess they felt that the 2 whelps would be a little bit too powerful. So, problem with this one is 3 mana, 2/3 without a dragon. Again, just not good at all. The 2 1/1 whelps, it's like a better Razorfen Hunter. But even then, I don't know if that really does anything at all. Even in Arena, terrible, because you need a dragon to make this work. 4 mana, Silver Moon Portal. Give a minion +2/+2, summon a random 2-cost minion. I would say that in Constructed, this is very bad for one reason. It's not about the 2-cost minion, it's not about the +2/+2, it's about the mana cost. You have a lot of already desired mana cost in the 4. What did I just say? The 4 slot has a lot of already desired cards. True Silver Champion, Keeper of Uldamon, Blessing of Kings. There's a lot of cards, and at one point, because if I put all the really, I want these cards in there without thinking about mana cost, at one point you realize you probably have like 10 4 mana cards, which it might be too much. So the effect in Arena is good because +2/+2 can be just good enough to go do a thing. You know, keeps it on the board, and as long as it's on the board, it's actually pretty good because now you have to force them to remove it, and spells usually don't exist as much. And 2-cost minion, you know, so buff up 1 minion and then get another minion out. So it's good in Arena. Ivory Knight, 6 mana, 4/4, so that's an odd stat line right there. Kind of like Auctioneer, but not as good. Battlecry, discover a spell, restore health to your hero equal to its cost. So one thing people talk about is, yeah, the fact is, the spell you can recover is most likely possibly a 1 mana card, because there's a lot of 1 mana cards, although it's not most likely not going to be all 1 mana cards. But I would say that the healing component is kind of just cake while you would want to just use this to get like another card. Since it is a discover effect, it's decent, although it does not have that much attack attached to the body. So it's like Ethereal Conjurer, but not as good. In Arena, I don't know. Like, the body itself just doesn't do a whole lot. I would want more from the body. But what else? I don't. That's really all I can say. I don't think it can go unconstructed because it doesn't really do a whole lot else. Priest. So Priest has a 2-mana, draw a card, Purify. Also, silence a friendly minion. This card is garbage. Because it has a 0-mana effect that is so situational it puts it on your minion only, and it has a draw card. Most 2-mana cards that draw a card usually have an additional effect. One card like this, like Shiv, which literally has the 0-mana effect of deal damage, 1 damage, and then the draw card, is literally a upside. And this, you have to. You can't just play it and draw a card. If there's nothing on the board, you have to have something on the board. And if you have something that's a good effect, most likely you will, because cards aren't always strictly done by, hey, stats. I don't understand why this card exists in this form. Because it seems like 2 mana is, like, on budget for draw a card. There's no way you want to silence your own minion for any reason. Next, we got the 4-mana Priest of the Feast. Whenever you cast a spell, restore 3 health to your hero, 3, 6 in stats. So I say that this card is, I think this card exists for one reason, that the Cthulhu-based card isn't in Arena. So once that goes, it won't be able to be playable anymore. You know, that's a while away, but still. So 3-6 is actually good stats for a Priest. It's probably what they've always wanted, because the idea of Priest is play a minion and it never dies. Like, you know, just by it attacking. You hit it with something and then you heal it. I think the special effect, not that worthwhile. I just never found much value out of it. 3 health, again, 3 health is useful in some cases, but it's not like useful in all cases, especially in Priest, because they're not really aggressive. 5 mana for 3/4. Onyx Bishop. Battlecry, summon a friendly minion that died this game. Some people say that, what are the odds that this is choose a minion, or what are the odds it's actually just like, what do you call it? Like, resurrect. My thought is, until it says random, I'm going to think that this is literally choose a minion. But this is, I feel like that the goodness of it, like this card, I don't want to say it's like going to be too broken, but the idea of it is you can build a deck around it, play a lot of good, like 2s and 3s and 4s and stuff, and then play this card and get one of them back. If it is random, that's kind of how you want to do it. Like, you know, maybe the injured Blade Master might come back. Who knows? Let's see. In Arena, I think if it brings something back, that's probably good for you. But it really depends on how good it would be if you choose it or if you don't. As I said, it does not say random on it, but we don't know. Let's see. Next to the rogue cards. 1 mana 1/1. Swashbuckler. Battlecry, add a random class card to your hand from your opponent's class. Pirate tag does matter, because I do believe that there are a number of pirate synergy cards in Rogue. This is like an Undercity Huckster, but it's just a Battlecry, which automatically puts a card in your hand. So it works with another card that they also have that I'm coming up to soon. I don't know if this would work really, really well in a pirate deck. In what do you call it? In Arena, this would be useful. Because a random card in your hand and also, you know, something on the board. Let's see. The next one is 3 mana 3/2 Deadly Fork Death Rattle. Add a 3/2 weapon to your hand. So it's a Death Rattle. And the weapon itself is a 3/2 for 3. So just straight up in, like, what do you call it? Constructed, there's like weapons are so strictly balanced. What do you call it? Budgeted that if you don't have it within that budget, odds are it's just terrible, unless it does something very specific. Like if Eagle Horn Bow was just a 3 mana 3/2, don't ever regain any weapon charges, it would be terrible, just 100%. Because that's literally a what do you call it? A Fiery War Axe that's just not good. But in Arena, it is good because weapon removal, or not weapon removal, but weapons for removal does help a lot, regardless of the cost. It is put into your hand though, so you do have to literally play it. Unfortunately, too bad it's not Death Rattle add a 3/2 weapon or equip a 3/2 weapon. Their last card is a 5 mana 5/6, so good stats. Ethereal Peddler. Battlecry, reduce the cost of cards in your hand from other classes by 2. That's interesting because it allows you to play those, I guess you could say, swindled cards, stolen cards, for lesser cost. I don't know how good that effect actually is. And odds are if you want to play this card, you would play it for the effect. It does have good body for the, on top of the effect, but the effect itself is like, I think you would need more cards that actually steal cards from classes for it to be even kind of, generally good. And the question is, do you also want to does it matter if those cards are discounted? In Arena, most likely just the 5. You probably only pick this because it's a 5/6 for 5. That's the only thing I can say about that. Odds are you won't really have too many stolen cards anyways. Let's see. Next one is the Shaman. So they have a 1 mana 1/3 weapon, has +2 attack while you have spell damage called the Spirit Claws. I read that completely backwards. Anyways, so if a 1/4, just by itself, a 1/4 Light's Justice isn't played, odds are a 1/3, even with an added effect, probably not going to be played because it doesn't really do a whole lot. In Arena, though, any weapon is, again, really welcomed because, like, that 1 damage can really mean the difference, especially if you can, say, have the ability to deal 1 damage over 3 turns, because sometimes you can literally be not decided, but, like, have a lot of irritation by things that live by just 1 health. However, you don't actually have to put you don't even actually have to have spell damage cards in your deck. You can literally just get it off of the totem, hero power. It's not, it's not consistent, but you can do it, so that makes it a 3 damage weapon, which is, it's interesting. I like the idea of the effect. Again, I don't think it's going to be that good in a constructed because it doesn't fit any current decks, and a lot of decks for Shaman that try to go away from the idea of being aggro are just kind of fail right now. So a whole new deck would have to kind of go around, like a mid-range Shaman, sort of. Their next card is a 4 mana 3/4. That's getting to be a popular stat line. Wicked Witch Doctor. Give me a second, and whenever you cast a spell, summon a random basic totem. I think that's kind of a kind of effect. Give me a second. Sorry, give me a second. Sorry about that. Let's see, back to the cards. So, Witch Doctor, yeah. I don't know how good this would be in Arena either, so it's probably not that great. However, the next card, 2 mana, Maelstrom Portal, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions, summon a 1 cost minion, random. So yeah, people talk about this. Power creep, not power creep because Arcane Explosion is not played. Okay? That's literally the whole point. Power creep is not power creep if it's like at the bottom of the barrel. It's only power creep if it was already a good card up by itself. And 1 damage by itself is usually not good. So dealing 1 damage across the board, usually not that good. The reason why Band of Knives ever plays is because you draw a card. I don't know if this will get it enough to be played in like most, Shaman decks? Maybe? I don't know. Arena, that 1 damage might be useful, especially getting the minion, but other than that, I can't really think too much about it. My big thing was just that it's not power creep because it's not, that the Arcane Explosion is not good at all. Okay, Warlock, 1 mana, 1/3. Malkazar's Imp, whenever you discard a card, draw a card, of course it's a demon. I like the idea that you are now creating, like they're trying to create this idea of play down a card, discard a card and have cards that synergize with discarding cards. I like that idea. I don't know if it works right now with this card, but I like the idea because it's kind of like you have to put in like a whole lot of good value cards, like every single one of them. So when you play down this card, you discard a card, good or bad or whatever, and then you use this to get back cards. So you're literally trying to out-tempo them. So odds are you draw through half of your deck, and you probably discard through another half of your deck, but by that point you should either win or lose. I like the idea. Don't know if it's going to happen, but it's a neat idea. Okay, they got 1 card called 5 mana Kara Kazam. Summon a 1/1 candle, 2/2 broom, and a 3/3 teapot. Even in a deck like Zoo, I don't even think... I think this is kind of like too costly to even do, because it's literally just, play card, get minions. I don't know if it really does much. Literally the, like Silverhead Knight doesn't see play at all. I don't know how good this would be in Arena. I mean, yeah, it's like a 1/1, a 2/2, and a 3/3. Maybe 3 bodies might be useful in Arena. I don't know. Now this one I also like with the same effect I was talking about. 3 mana, 3/3, Silverware Golem. If you discard this minion, summon it. The reason why I like this is because this allows you to do that whole tempo thing I was talking about. So you Soulfire something, you discard this, and it puts it out on the field. Now, unfortunately, you don't always discard this, of course. So it's a 3/3, which is still decent enough. 3/3s do get C-played in Constructed. In Arena, I think this is literally just going to be a vanilla 3/3 most of the time, because odds are you don't really end up with too many cards that, discard cards, and a lot of cards that might do that for you. You might not actually want to draft some of those cards because they just, kind of hurt you over time. And let's see, the last set, Warrior. So they have the 5 mana, 3 damage for durability weapon. Fool's Bane. Unlimited attacks each turn. Can't attack heroes. So I like the idea of this, an Assassin's Blade for warriors, that technically speaking, you can attack as much as you like. I don't know how much that is going to be effective, though. I mean, it means that, yeah, you can probably equip this weapon, but the question is it too slow? Does it actually work? Maybe in Arena, this probably would see, I don't know if it would see like a lot of play, but I would think it would be like pretty good, because if they have like 2 minions, then they're like 3 health at the least. You can just go bop, bop, bop. That's all I really can say about that. I don't think it's going to do too much in Constructed. I think they're just better weapons to play. at this point in time. 5 mana Iron Forge Portal, gain 4 armor, and then summon a random 4 cost minion. It's kind of a. It's an alright effect. Don't know if it's a really good effect. Like, 4 armor? Well, it's not that cheap of a card, and it really summons a minion. Honestly, this probably could have been like, okay, wait a second. If we look at like some of the other cards, what else was it? Let's see. Like, I would say the Silver Moon Portal, 2/2 plus 2/2 to a minion and a 2 mana minion. That's literally like 4 mana there total. Now Firelands Portal is like something you can't really gauge because like 5 damage and 5 cost minion. But let's see, what's the other portal? Moonglade Portal is 6 health and summon a 6 cost minion. So I'm thinking this could have easily just been a 4 mana gain 4 armor and summon a random 4 cost minion, and you really wouldn't have been. It would not have been that. Probably not going to be that broken at all. Yeah, I don't know too much. Arena usually good. You probably don't really mind having more minions, but I don't know if it's really that good. And then their last card, 3 mana, protect the king. For each enemy minion, summon a 1/1 pawn with taunt. So I like the idea of this card. I don't know if it's overly good, but it's like Unleash the Hounds, but with taunt. So the reason why it's not as good as Unleash the Hounds is because Unleash the Hounds has the benefit of charge. There is possibility that you can use this to start building around that warrior taunting deck, that bolster deck, but that's about it. I mean, maybe you can use this in something, especially Arena. If they have like a whole lot of minions, you can just literally go boof and just fill the board with 1/1s, and now you don't die as fast. So it's an interesting card to think about. Whether or not it sees play is like, debatable. And let's see. Okay, so that's the last of those cards. Not really much else to talk about. They've got like your card backs. They got themes, which is indeed portals. Portals and casting spells. I'm not really going to go into the lore because that's a lot of lore. That's a lot of lore. But honestly, I'm excited for this. Some people say it's kind of a disappointing sort of expansion. I'll say this, in terms of, say, super like competitively priced cards, most likely it's not like, again, super competitive. But I think that the team at Hearthstone is very excited and proud of this one because a lot of them do seem fun. And I'm pretty sure like at least a third of the cards are going to be played around with at least, not maybe played with specifically. Let's see. So yes, I've been up for about 2 hours. I think it's time I called it here. Let's see. Closing remarks. So yeah, currently nothing out. If you want to follow me at my YouTube channel, which I'm trying to make more content for soon, it's at DRedBaron. Twitter's there. And give me a moment. I shall end it on this. Wait a second.
definition of a thing.